there's some light pollution. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Well, it might be a yellow day. It might be about a 43 on the AQI. Might be quite a bit of ozone out there. I was just thinking how I wish I could listen to the radio in my car. I mean, I could, it's just that when I post the videos, I'm going to get all those copyright things. Where it used to be, it'd say, hey, look, you're using music that, you know, it's got a copyright on it. You try to make money off it, we'll block it. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. Now they don't even say that anymore. It just says your video is blocked. Like I said, my mom got hit over there. I've seen several accidents. I just know there's a lot of selfish people. I expect stupid people on the roads. So that's why I don't drive like I'm in a hurry. So I don't talk on a cell phone, even though I got one on my hip and somebody's just burning my ear with conversation, trying to burn my ear with conversation. There's the reason I used to listen to just jazz and easy listening. Because there's nothing worse than getting into a song, you're driving, kind of distracted, and then all of a sudden something jumps out at you. Alicia Keys is a great artist, but she doesn't have music you can drive by. Somebody linked one of my videos, and I'm just not sure why. My biggest worry was that I looked at the person's links, and she has like the DeSoto High School football pictures, and I'm wondering if she's a teacher teaching driver's ed and then showing them what it's like to drive in Dallas. And if that's the case, I guess I got to clean up my language a little bit. It's probably not going to happen, but still, it's something I have to be conscious of. It gets me all giddy because that's exactly why I put out the videos, just to kind of give people an idea. It's like, look, here's what it's like to drive in Dallas. Here's what it's like to exercise in Dallas. It wasn't to get rich quick, it wasn't to get famous, it wasn't to have my name plastered in lights or to win awards. It was just, hey, I think this is kind of neat. I want other people to see this too. Didn't want to put as much commentary into it. It's going to be this objective look. That's where the music thing came in. The guy said, well, your videos are kind of boring, but you can excite them by, you know, speeding it up and putting music in it. And I said, no, I'll do the music part. And then the convoluted state of affairs we've got in copyright just pretty much killed that. So since I don't get thousands of views, I can go ahead and make a little commentary on the video. I'm pretty sure a lot of folks are fast forwarding through this anyway, so I can say pretty much what I want. When I wasn't recording, I was just a crazy guy talking to himself. Now I'm a crazy guy talking to a camera. And it's a beautiful day. 78 degrees, a slightly cool breeze, blue skies. No, I just had this realization that if I do... Yesterday I was talking about dating profiles and putting it all out there. And I realized if I do start going on dates, I'm going to have to start explaining. Especially if I pick her up in my car. What's with the camera? Oh, funny story. Okay, well, this guy thinks he's still in the school zone, so I don't know. Starting to look like that scene out of, I can't remember what the name of that movie was. It's a Steven Spielberg movie about a guy who ticks off a trucker. And the whole movie, the trucker chases this guy. He bumps the back of his car, and the guy keeps trying to get away, but he's in like this really crappy Dodge that only goes like 70 miles an hour. Eventually he's had enough, and so he lures the truck driver. Maybe I shouldn't tell everybody how it ends. Well, the bottom line is it's a gritty film. And before there was Jaws, I guess there was terrifying truck video. You know, it shocks me that someone hasn't had a remake of it. Probably take and put a star in who has no business being in the movie. It's just a waste of time having that person in there, and then pump it up with special effects and a plot line that didn't need to be put in the first place. Name of that movie. I could whip out my phone. Google, blah, 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 and it would have said, you know. I know it had like a one thing. It was like Rampage, Revenge. I just can't remember the name of it. But it was one word. And the guy wore glasses, and I can't even think of who the star of the thing was. He wasn't like an action star or anything. He was just a regular looking guy who really sold the film. It was the ultimate example of road rage gone wrong. time to play everyone's favorite game, Dodge the Drunks. I got a lot done today. Trouble on every side. Just did cut over 3 lanes so he can get to the bar. And that's why he's driving that slow. Oh, I got a Weaver. Like he's about to hit that curve. Crap, now he's veering over to where I'm at. If there was time to think about running a red light. What's your problem, buddy? I don't know, say that into the camera. Now he wants to race. While bobbing and weaving, let's see what happens here. The world's longest light, and there is nobody here. They close up shop at 5. Another light that should be just blinking. Like they said in their report, the traffic system is still built on some technology from 1981. Not built on some technology, but it is technology from 1981. Our entire traffic safety system is based on a system. It is run by a system that has survived, I want to say 4 presidencies. And it's into its 5th. I guess there has to be a general rule that says, look, if it's a very vital system, there should be more than one guy in an appointed position deciding whether or not we keep the old system or go to something new. The other question that needs to come up in the room is, are we going to save lives or save money? And just to see what kind of cold-blooded person raises their hands for money. But then again, I'm reminded of that scene in great HBO's drama, And the Band Played On, where all these folks are sitting around the table, doctors, mind you, with degrees, with, took the Hippocratic Oath, had to decide whether or not they wanted to implement this test to detect AIDS in the blood supply. Yes, they could have done the test, but it would have been very expensive to do so. And they actually, according to the HBO dramatization, all who wanted to raise their hands for the test and all opposed. And the bottom line is those who were opposed won out. And the guy makes the comment in the room, and he says, when the doctors become, the bottom line is something along the lines of when the doctors become the CEOs and the businessmen, what hope has the patients? There are a lot of safety systems that go down like that. Did a report on the Challenger. Some guy had more than Thiokol. It wasn't just Martin Thiokol, though. It was also NASA just blindly takes it. They said no going for launch. Dismiss the engineers, have a meeting. In that meeting, one of the lines was said, "It's time for you to take off your manager hat and put on your, or take off your engineering hat and put on your manager's hat." That's kind of like where you get into your Johnny Red, socialist, communist diatribe. Capitalism works great if you want a brand new cell phone. It works great if you want cheap computers that run super fast. It's not so great when people's lives are on the line. It's not so great when you have the option of making more money or coming up with a backup survival plan for your species. You choose the money. And that's the one glaring flaw that makes it pretty unattractive. Greed trumps your sense of common sense and survival. Not expecting to get this late a jump. Now, if I whistle that and this sets off the copyright infringement, I have lost all hope for humanity. That ticky-tack to where I am whistling off-key and you can still pick up what I'm whistling. I do feel kind of old because that was I used to watch the Disney Channel when that. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to remember a cable box that had a cable coming out, that had a cable remote attached to it. And when you used to watch the Disney Channel was pretty much just the Disney archive. It was like, look, here's everything that Disney ever made up to 1975. Enjoy. So you watched all those old cartoons, all the way from to the very beginning, to whatever they had out to like the 80s. When Pixar first came out, there was I want to call it a live-action cartoon where the entire cartoon was about two toys. I think they were in a factory or something like that, but there were two wind-up toys, and it was live-action because they made the wind-up toy, and then it would talk and it would move up and down, and it was a weird movie. I can never remember the name of it. I can swear that's where they came out with Pixar first. It wasn't animated like 3D, it was more animated like puppet kind of thing. They were wind-up toys. And anyway, the point I was getting to is one of the things they always showed on that original Disney Channel was the old episodes of the Mickey Mouse show. So I used to always hear the theme song at the beginning and see all the people with the mouse ears and the names on the front of their shirts. Like I say, the 80s had a lot of interesting stuff on cable TV. I saw, it might have been a student's film or it was a short film, where a guy was in an editing room and suddenly this videotape came out of the, he was frustrated and he kicks the machine, and then, so what happens is the tape gets revenge by turning into this giant blob of film, and it chases him all around the studio. And he finds he can repel it by using a magnet. Anyway, somehow he loses the magnet, gets pinned up against the wall, and the film eats him. I have no idea to this day who that film was by. There was Hardware Wars. That was a weird one. Some football game or something got canceled, so they had to fill it with something, and they filled it with Hardware Wars, which was a parody. It was a really bad, low-budget parody of Star Wars. There was that Fish Head song, which I thought I was the only one. That was when Nickelodeon had first come out. Nickelodeon was such a new channel back in the day that it was only on the air from like 9 to 5. That's how that's how low budget it was. Like for half a day they would just cut out. It would just say, "Well, we hope you had fun. Good night." And it was like all the characters from the Nickelodeon shows would get on this bus and they would drive off, and that was the end of the channel. It would go into. And then one day they just said, "Okay, we're going to show you something brand new, Nick at Night." And all Nick at Night was old syndicated black and white TV shows from like the 50s and 60s. They would show you Dennis the Menace. That's where I got to watch a lot of old shows. Dennis the Menace. What was the other one with the twins? Patty Duke Show. I watched all that stuff. I watched the Patty Duke Show, Dobie Gillis, Green Acres, Petticoat Junction. Did they have the Twilight Zone? I don't think they ever got the Twilight Zone. It was all these weird TV shows that I had never heard of before. Watched a lot of independent TV when I wasn't cable. That's why I saw Sally Field and Gidget. I didn't know there was a movie. Oh, there was a movie? The Monkees.
Batman, of course. Lots and lots of Batman. I watch that show religiously. Superman with George Reeves. Black and white and color. Never got to watch the Green Hornet. Not one episode. Guess we just never could get the rest of that here in Texas or Dallas. My time is up. I miss every light now. Old television. I can go on for days because I'm a fat kid watching a lot of television. That's why I miss my weekends. They used to be marathons, monster movie marathons. So I watched a lot of Wolfman, Invisible Man, Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Them, It, Thing, Tarantula, Wasp Woman, The Blob, Zoltan, Hound of Dracula, the Christopher Lee Dracula movies. Watched a lot of those with my brothers and sisters. And then there'd be like it was like Kung Fu Saturday or Kung Fu Sunday, and a lot of Kung Fu films. I never did figure out the name of a lot of the movies. I saw one where a guy gave this dude in a straw hat, gave his friend these two blades, two arm-length blades. And he went through and cut through about 1,000 people easily that I saw in that whole movie. And then the guy in the straw hat at the end of the film says, "All right, I'd like to have my blades back." And he looked at him, took the blades, and threw them in. They were sitting over a cliff, and he threw them over the cliff into the ocean. And they dubbed it over something. He says, "Well, I guess I didn't need them that bad." And they all laughed at each other. Ha ha ha! And that was the end of the movie. We'll never find out what the name of that Chinese movie was. That's where it helped to have somebody like Quentin Tarantino. You just say one word, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, I remember that one. It was blah blah blah. Like, dude, you know a little too much. I watched two movies with Charlie Chaplin where he wasn't playing the tramp. There was this really cool one, and I never know what the name of it is. I guess I can look it up on IMDb. Where he is, I think he was a diplomat or an old actor. And something happened where he got plastic surgery. He was in New York, and he was learning all about the city, and he got plastic surgery. And the plastic surgeon told him to not do anything with his face for a long period of time. And then Charlie Chaplin goes to the movie theater, and he starts watching this movie with everyone else, and there's really funny stuff, and everyone's just laughing like crazy. And he sees one scene, and he just can't stop laughing. He can't help himself, so he laughs, and his plastic surgery, his stitches came loose or something. And so he's holding his face, and they had to leave the theater early. Don't know which one that was. It was like when Charlie Chaplin was old. He was like in his 60s or something. And of course, I saw The Great Dictator. I went on forums. One of my SIGs that I put down, I think, was Brotherhood of the Double Cross. There was a place in Dallas called Video Works. And that was where we rented all our videos. And I saw a lot of VHS. My dad bootlegged a lot of videotapes. Or, you just rent them, copy them, and then they're yours. So I would see a lot of stuff that my dad thought was pretty cool back in his day. I watched Amos and Andy and didn't know anything about why it went off the air, what was wrong with it, what stereotypes it reinforced. I just thought it was the funniest hell TV show. And it was so neat because my dad would point and say, look at that.
You see, they're drinking beer in those commercials. They can't do that anymore. It's like, oh, okay. Slat's beer. And the guy would pour it into the glass. He'd sniff it a couple times, and he was like drinking it. And it was ice. The glass had frost on it. You could tell even with black and white. And he was just drinking it down. I was like, man, beer commercials were wrong back then. Hey, if you think of that nasty swill as it's just the greatest thing ever. I guess it is pretty good. Like I said, a beer is one of those things that's really good when it's ice. Well, in America, it's one of those things that's really good when it's ice cold and when you have it with a burger. Just something about a beer and a burger. But that's probably about the only way I drink a beer. Anyway, Amos and Andrew, he really liked one called the Bowery Boys. And they had this dude on there, I think his name was Satch. Satch was just this hapless looking dude, tall, lanky, goofy, always stood with his shoulders in. I forgot who played him. They had one where they hypnotized him into thinking that he was a great boxer. And he's fighting and he's beating up everybody. And then they found out that he was being hypnotized, so they brought in this dude called, I don't know, the guy with the hex eyes. He had some kind of weird red eyes, and every time the Satch would look at him, he would lose his powers. I was thinking about Satch, but that reminded me back in the day when I was a kid, the Disney Channel used to show a lot of movies by a guy named Danny Kaye. Pretty cool. He did this thing where I don't know if he did it or just special effects, but he could lean at almost a 45-degree angle. I think that was just special effects. That's where they got that famous skit about the poison in the pistol, poison in the vessel, something to prove that is true. But yeah, there's my TV watching history. So it kind of makes me laugh when I'm watching Family Guy and there's Seth MacFarlane making some reference to something that some generations won't get and some people from his generation wouldn't even get because it was that old. But I realized the reason he probably watched something like that was he had a family member that was heavily into that and then somehow he got hooked into it. Because it was out there for anybody to see in the early days of cable. They put all sorts of old stuff. You can watch Bob Hope and Bing Crosby till your eyes bled. Now you pay for that stuff. You'll never see an old Disney cartoon. Danny Kaye will probably be something that you'd have to bootleg off the internet. It's just the way it is, man. I didn't know about Cheech and Chong until they started putting marathons on TV. I was like, oh, okay. Cool. Por supuesto. Cut of his every time. What do you have against me, Bill Meade?
How have I wronged thee? My cart's a little too cheap. Or maybe it's the other way around. A little too snazzy. Hey, he's got a spoiler on the back. Gotta spoil that parade. Bellmead is the street of no love. What's the other street that always gets me? Oh, yeah, Royal Lane. Royal Lane definitely has no love. The only time a king has heart is in poker. And of course, Royal Lane would have no love. One of those places, man. No sidewalks, no pity. No room for foolishness, no ease. No, it's just, no, I wasn't expecting that. It's the kind of stuff I do. But at least I got like a LED light that dangles around my neck so you can kind of see me coming. I think that person was wearing black and gray. It's like that works great when you're in Raider Nation. Not so well when you're driving around in Petroleum City at 5 o'clock in the morning. Time when people stumble into their cars and stumble down the street. Arapaho doesn't like me. That's alright though, the feeling is mutual. No, not the tribe. No, I don't know anything about the Arapaho. I just know they named the crappiest street in Dallas after them. That ain't right at all. Sliding around a little bit. I mean, wake me up. Although I'm not opposed to that. No, stop right there. Stop before you hurt yourself. Long suffering. The greatest of these is, how does it go? Oh, what is it? You start naming off the fruits. You start naming off the fruits of the Spirit in the King James Version of the Bible. Love, faith, gentleness, kindness. And then they say long-suffering. You gotta scratch your head as a kid. You're just long-suffering. Like, what? And then you see the NIV versions, and they replace long-suffering with patience. And it does kind of fit. Can you wait so long that it hurts? Pain tolerance. I guess is another word for patience. Long suffering. Remember, it was an OkCupid question that asked, it gave you two choices. It said passion or dedication. And I kind of laughed because I think it was a trick question, because passion by definition is when you believe or you love something so much you're willing to die for it. And dedication is when you love something so much or believe in something so much that you live for it. In either case, you're fighting for something that you have a strong vested interest in. It's just a matter of on what end of the fight are you willing to go with this. You know, one of them has a fatal outcome. Words. And English is so confusing with its words because it's a language of the conquered. Because if you look at the history of England, there are a lot of people wiping their feet off on the doorstep of that country, and they left behind most importantly, one of the things was their language. You know, the Normans left behind, the French, Saxons left behind a few things. The Romans left behind a few words here and there. So English becomes this patchwork language. Terms like chivalry and chivalrous, borrowed from French. So yeah, the point I'm trying to make is sometimes you use a word, you don't realize that word has been bandied about in 3 different civilizations, and in each translation something was, they had to come up with the best fit word, and sometimes something gets lost in the translation. You know, there are a lot of words like that start out in Greek, and then they get adopted by Roman or Latin, and then they get translated to something else, one of the new European languages. The Bible is full of that. Some of the stuff starts out in Sumerian, it goes over to Hebrew, and Aramaic, and Greek, and Latin, and then whatever mother tongue after Gutenberg and Martin Luther. Here you are, 5 translations into a book that started out being passed down orally between father and son. Yeah. I bring that up to people and I say it's kind of like the world's longest game of telephone. Eat at Sal's. Becomes meat bat Sal's or something like that. You're just like meat bat Sal's, and you're like, what in the world? What? It's very clear what he's meaning. Meat bat Sal's. Okay. And only the aliens that put down the original word on the gold plates that strangely disappeared when they came to their one representative know what happened for sure. If I'm being facetious about religion, I partly am, but that's what the Mormons believe.
that a messenger from the stars came to a guy in New York, put his rules down on a gold plate, and conveniently took the gold plates with him instead of leaving them behind for the guy to have future reference material. At least in the Roman tradition, in the Jewish tradition, they had an excuse. The Romans came along, took the Ark of the Covenant, and we don't know what they did with it. It's all their fault. Oh, okay. Ten Commandments is somewhere. Maybe Spielberg's right. Raiders of the Lost Ark is sitting there somewhere in the National Archives, never to be found again. Guarded by the secret society of top men. Driving Dead. Maybe if I got some elementary school students to play like their band music, and somebody gets in my CD and I just start saying to people, I request, please send me the music from your kids' recitals. I start making mixtapes out of that, or mix CDs out of that, and I load it in my computer and I start playing it. Will it still set off copyrights on YouTube? I'm curious to see that, actually. How do you put in such a plea, though? I can't put it on Google Plus. Nobody uses Google Plus. Don't know enough people on Facebook. But maybe I can start there. Please, send me your kids' recital music. I will play it. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Oh yeah, that's the jam. Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'm all about that. Some of these kids might stun me. And unfortunately, if they play it too well, all right, man, that's how you do it. I think I started something. See a dude running the median, and I was just like, okay. Never thought I'd see another soul doing that. But you found out what I found out. Exercising on the streets of Dallas is like playing the world's most dangerous and longest, most expensive game of Frogger. You can hear it in the back of your head somewhere. Dun 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 dun. And your little legs are moving from lane to lane, and you're bloop, 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 bloop. I can't do the Frogger sound. I can't find Frogger. If I put that in my CD and I load it, I guarantee there will be a copyright warning from Namco. I just got a feeling. I think they own it. Is it Namco? Like, so many companies got absorbed into other companies that I just can't remember anymore who owns who. I used to call them Taito, but I think it's Taito. Had Elevator Action and a few other games.
I forget who I think Atari had the rights to Burger Time. Yeah, that's another thing I can start talking about for 30 minutes and bore the hell out of everybody who's listening. My video game history. My video game history doesn't start with home consoles. My video game history starts with, like I said, I'm old enough to remember arcades. Large, crowded, electronic booths with all sorts of machines that made contrasting noises to fight for your quarters. I mean, there was a lot of games. Elevator Action, Burger Time, Donkey Kong Jr., Pac-Man, Pac-Man Jr., Super Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man. There was this one game, I think it was called Us vs. Them. It was a video game where they had like a live action video playing in the background. And then it was rendered, and then rendered over that were your game sprites. And you flew in a some kind of jet, I think it was an F-15, and you were shooting down all these alien guys, and then every time you won a level, it would go to this full motion video of the pilot and everybody doing their thing.